So, my ladies, today's life diaries is gonna be all about the femininity journey. So, if you don't know what that is, I suggest that you start listening to the videos that I have, and some of them can be the one that says you don't feel worthy of love, relationship killers. If you're single, hear this and prepare yourself. The reasons why relationships fail. And most importantly, go through the video that speaks about the low value woman relationship rabbit hole. And another important one is a video that's called "This is the reason you like bad boys, players, and assholes," right? So anything that has to do with relationships, I suggest you view those videos so you can understand what I'm talking about here, because you might be a bit confused. So we're talking about if you're that type of woman who has stepped into her femininity journey. So this video here is not for the common woman out there. They're just merely with the average Jane Joes out there. And I'm talking about women that are ready to step into that journey. And it's not a journey that is for everyone, because it's quite a difficult journey. You might be trying to figure out how to be able to get your current or perhaps your future partner on board with this polarity that's going on between the feminine and the masculine. And you know, because of all of these traditional roles, the feminine and the masculine have been going on for 1,000 years. And a lot of you will know that this journey and this task is not at all easy due to the fact in today's gender role climate, but do know it's not an impossible one. So, in fact, my belief is that most of us would actually want to play these roles naturally if we were actually given the chance to understand and, most importantly, experience a different way. A more fulfilling way where your relationship could not only work, but it's capable of thriving. And what I mean by that is where you both can be standing in your power and you can leverage equally your 100% of your unique strengths and gifts that both of you can actually bring into the relationship. So, if you're dreading having uncomfortable conversations in the not so distant future, the good news that I have to tell you is that most great men out there and deep inside, they actually do want to be protecting and providing, while a lot of women are still interested in creating a home, in surrendering, and to be taken care of course. Because what happens is nurture and nature is always blended in together in this way. And this is due to biology and the evolution. And everything is in the right place. So, as we know, it's very hard today because a lot of men, and I would say a lot of men, and a lot of common men, the high percentage of men out there, they would agree to actually be stay-at-home dads and to be house husbands. There's lots of men like that. There's a lot of men that can leave you as a woman to lead. And there's a lot of men out there who like to have a 50-50 relationship, and they would want an equally divided two-income household. And you need to understand that these types of men, right? Because I'm going to be discussing my main focus when I'm talking about the feminine essence and everything is all about attracting a high-value man, okay? So a high-value man behaves differently than the common man out there. And it's a very hard pill to swallow for a lot of men out there, and I can easily be attacked by that. But I have a different theory of thought, right? So on a common man is easier for him to be 50-50. Because what happens is the playing field has evened out now. So there would be a lot of men out there that can actually get disappointed with a woman who wants to stay at home, right? So say she's a mom and she wants to stay at home, because he might be feeling that she has a lot of other talents. And there's a lot of men out there that call themselves feminists in lieu of standing strong in their masculinity. So a lot of these men, the higher percentage of them, they really do not have an understanding of what it means for a woman to be in her feminine essence, and the need that they have, that they want them to be in their masculine presence, and all that energy that can be built up in order to create this new world together. We don't need these types, how should I say it? We don't want these type of men. It depends what everybody wants, okay? It depends what each woman wants from a man, all right? You might be an independent woman that is career-based and all of that. It depends what everybody wants, okay? But there's nothing wrong with wanting one and wanting the other. But a lot of women out there are rising up, and they're wanting a lot of their men to get their shit together and to actually be the responsible provider and the protector. And this probably happens because of all the vulnerability and that renewed sense of open-heartedness, courage, and a lot of women want to be taken care of. They don't want their men to be running away from their emotions, from their responsibilities, from the bills. And if you're a woman like myself, I am the type of woman that I can do everything by myself. I can do everything by myself. I can take care of myself. I don't need a man to provide for me or look after me. But the difference that I have between me and other women is I don't want to at this phase of my life that I'm now. So I went through a complete cycle of focusing on myself. I focused on my career. I did what I needed to do. I proved to myself anything that I wanted to prove. And at some point, I'm mostly a traditional type of woman. But right now in my life, I don't want to do what average people do and how they behave in their relationships, because I know a different way. And for me, it's a much more fulfilling way for a lot of women out there. And I like to call that, it's the way of the feminine. So there's a lot of women that are into this power. So we know that a lot of women nowadays are getting paid higher wages, that they're growing their businesses and they're getting into powerful positions. And it's truly awesome, and it should be celebrated. And I'm one of those women. But regardless, there's a lot of men today that are at an odd place. So a lot of people might call it having a crisis of the masculinity. And there's a lot of rules of the game that are actually changing. And it's not enough anymore for him to make a decent income and bring home the goodies, right? And a lot of women, and some women today would gladly go to work full time and let their husbands manage the household and the children. And in reality, that might be the most logical and profitable scenario, and it can indeed work, and it can even thrive for some couples. There's no problem there. But there are other people out there that are seeing things a bit differently. There's women out there that want to set the standard and they want to place boundaries. So it has always been up to these types of women of the kind of men that they can choose. So in fact, the whole patriarchy is built on the premise that men need to compete for the most powerful positions, be heroic, because that's what the women want. That's why nowadays we've got men in power, and that's in the majority. So men would bend and mold into what we want them to be. And it's a harsh thing, but it's true. So any woman out there who knows how to use her seductive powers knows the power that she holds over a man and will never complain about the patriarchy. So that type of woman thrives on patriarchy because she doesn't need to lift a finger to get what she wants. But of course, a true masculine man knows of this danger from the feminine. So they stay true to their purpose and they don't let themselves be led by their sexual desires and women. So there's no need to dread any conversation about polarity and getting him on board, because it's up to you as a woman the type of man that you're going to settle for. So it depends what you want. Every relationship is whatever you want it to be. The person you end up with, it's what you want, not what I want. I want different things to what you want. You need to remember that you always have a choice. And by having a choice, you need to remember that's how the game works. So let's not forget, we're like mammals. We are driven by our primitive sexual desires, and remember that the male peacocks, they fight for a chance to impregnate as many females as possible. And what do the females do? They just sit there and they enjoy the show and they choose. So I would encourage a lot of women out there to join me in enjoying the show and choosing, because choice is so important and your choice has to be a wise one. And once you're there and you have chosen your partner, then you're gonna have to let him lead and play your unique roles in order to create and to sustain polarity. So you see, the masculine will be in charge of the direction of the relationship, but the feminine, on the contrary, is going to be responsible for the quality and the energy of that relationship. So the masculine is what sets the container, right? And the feminine is what's going to fill up that container with wishes and desires, with fullness and excitement, and with potent energy and flow. So when I realized that I was a woman of feminine essence, I also understood that I wasn't born to live my life like a working horse. And right now, in this stage of my life, I am done trying to prove everything to everyone. And now, my power and my strength comes from my own femininity and my own womanhood. So what happens is, to all the single ladies out there, you need to understand that your feminine essence can actually attract the complete opposite when it comes to the polarity. You can go and check out that video on polarity to understand more about that. So the more as a woman that you lead into your feminine energy and you let the man lead you into the relationship, the more the guy will be able to show up in his masculine. Now I'm talking male and feminine, but it applies to both genders. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. We both have both masculine and feminine energies. And as I said, because what happens is the masculine has to compete with other men that are waiting in line, right? And if that man wants to be with you, that man will need to be able to claim you as his woman. And I'm talking about if that's going to be a man that really, really wants to be with you. And if he's the man that doesn't want to be with you, well, it's too bad for him, because he doesn't know what he's going to be losing. Because you are in a phase right now that you are moving on, if you haven't already. So I want to give you some advice when it comes to some relationships, right? When it comes to men, you need to understand and look at the patterns in your dating. So you need to see, what type of men are you attracting in general? What's the same about them? And what does that say about you? So if you're attracting a type of man who just wants to be in the house, right, and do all the chores and shit like that, you need to check in with yourself. Where are you emanating the masculine? Are you telling the masculine what to do? Are you perhaps trying to do it all and you never ask for help? And how are you feeling with your body? So you need to remember that your energy is what attracts men. So as a female, are you relaxed? Are you playful? Are you actually flowing with life? Because that is what attracts a masculine man. I give the recommendation to women that not to get hung up with just one guy. I would, if I'm at an older stage in my life, doesn't make a difference, but I did have a lot of experiences with men. I dated a lot of men. And I learned a lot through all of my experiences. But my advice to you, if you're younger, is that you need to be able to date as many men as possible. And preferably without sleeping with these people. Only get serious with them when you're ready. I mean, have sex with these people only when you want to get serious. Because then you start to intertwine energetic fields, and you get completely messed up when you're sleeping with the wrong person. And I'm not going to get into this now, but you can see my other videos. I have lots of things that I spoke about, sexual energy and all of that. So until then, so have a lot of men that you're dating, but don't be exclusive to anyone. So right now you can be a free bird, so you can get to enjoy the show. So by doing that, you can actually experience several types of men out there. So during this time, what you will be doing is you will be interacting with these men and seeing what type of people they are, what you like about them, what you don't like about them, what you would want in a future husband, what would be something that you'd want in, to stay there happy. And it's so important, because a different type of men can give you different types of experiences. And it's important that you get acquainted with different types of men, so you can understand what type of value you're looking for in a person. Because if you do not have the experience, how are you going to know what's out there? How do you know what's going to make you happy? So you need to experiment with different people, right? And it doesn't have to be sexual based. And of course, you can let them know that you're a free bird and that you don't give exclusivity, and perhaps you're not in a phase in your life that you want something serious. All right? You always need to be upfront with everything that you do. So another thing you need to know is that men they actually will behave and be what you expect them to be. So if you expect a man to pick you up and check on dates, that person will. So if you expect a man to follow up and chase you, like say for a Friday night at the movies, the man will. And if you expect a man to be gentle and to take care of you and treat you like a queen, that man will. So even a construction worker or even an electrician or a plumber can treat you like a lady if you expect him to. And what do I mean by that? The problem with a lot of women out there is that they don't expect their partners to be doing these things, because they don't value themselves the way that they're supposed to. They are much more in their masculine energy and are doing all of these things to men, and they're not letting men take the lead, right? So in order to have what you want in a man, it has to be part of your being. You really need to believe that you are worthy of all that. And it's not just preaching affirmation words. You've got to embody all of those things. You need to really expect the other person to do that. And not even settling for less than what you deserve. That's crucial. That is really crucial. You need to have boundaries, right? So, you need to differentiate what you expect from a man and what boundaries you need to place, right? And this is where the distinction comes to play between the masculine and the feminine. So a masculine energy, so a masculine man, is not going to let themselves be dragged on the floor like a puppy just to win you over, because it's a dance. He's not going to allow himself to be disrespected. And you shouldn't play with him in this way either, because it's a one-way street. I'm sorry, it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street, for God's sakes. It's a two-way street. And it's very important that you understand that as a woman, depending on what you want for your future, it's not good to settle with a man or pray that someday that man is going to change. You need to look at your man right now, and you need to imagine living with that current version of who he is for the rest of your fucking life. And it's reality. You need to snap out of it and see facts for what they are. And if you're with a person right now and you don't see yourself living with that person and thriving with that person right now as you are, you have to make the choice of whether you're going to stay there and settle and be miserable, or whether you should move on so that you can allow another man to come and claim you. Now, when we're talking in these videos, I am not talking to the common women out there that have not put in the work when it comes to men, all right? Because I'm talking about a high-value woman now. A high-value woman is one that's been through a lot, and she's claiming her value, all right? She worked on everything. She worked on her energy, she worked on her personal development, she worked on her vulnerability, and she kept on trying and trying and trying relentlessly. And I'm not talking about the weak women out there, the common women that just wanna just get a man and think they have rights to him and that they have to do everything for them. No, I'm not talking about these type of women. And I'm sorry to disappoint a lot of women out there, but you need to learn a lot before you start to understand where I'm coming from. So I'm referring to high quality women out there. So the good news that I have to tell you is that there are plenty of men out there who stand by strong in their masculinity. There are. And I know a lot of men like that. So, to all of those ladies that are taken, if you've been in a relationship for a while and are already in conversations about this whole feminine and masculine role dynamic, naturally, your man will resist at first. And why wouldn't he? Here, he was living a happy and relaxed life. You were the one that was taking care of the bills. You're the one taking care of the household, the kids, and the relationship. And all he was doing is just lying on the couch and following instructions. Sure, he's a great guy, no doubt. But for me, and how the way I see it, that man is not an ideal match in my books when it comes to masculinity, because this type of guy has just given up on his masculinity, right? So what he did is he let you take on the leading role, and it actually works very well for him. So this type of person, you need to understand that they're not putting in the work as they should, right? And I don't know about you, but me, I have other needs, and I don't tolerate a man in that behavior. I do not tolerate it. Based on my upbringing and conditioning and everything, right? I had a healthy masculine figure in my life. So my caregiver was a reliable masculine. He was in his masculine power, so he would be the provider. My mom never needed to work a day in her life, right? So that's the way I've been raised. And I tried both ways, right? I tried both ways because I wanted to experience both ways. What it's like to be with a guy that's in his masculine power and what it's like to be with a man that is not in his masculine power. And for me, it doesn't sit right to be with a man that is not in his masculine power. And I don't think that's part of nature. Because if you look back at evolution, the masculines were the providers, right? Evolution. And we've changed. So why would you want to fix it if it ain't broken? Listen to me. You just need to become aware of it. But maybe you already are aware. Maybe, you're feeling fatigued. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe the energy is actually leaking for you right now, right? It's coming for all women who think that they can actually do everything and who actually pile responsibility upon responsibility on their backs, and they keep on going like fucking transformers. And listen to me, women were not built to be transformers. They weren't built to be workhorses or factory machines. We cannot healthily function in the go mode all of the time, because that's too much for our bodies, it's too much for our minds, and it's too much for our feminine souls. Because what it does, it sucks life out of our creative, life-giving hearts and our wombs, and that is slowly killing us. So don't let this messy affair suck you in, right? And do not let your man give up on his masculinity, you, and life in general. So, for feminine essence women like us, there is nothing worse than disrespecting and not trusting the man that we're with. So, parenting our men will only add to the number of children you have to take care of and subtract from the number of husbands you have. But you might ask me, Marina, how do we do it? How do we do it? And it's very easy. Stop trying to get him on board with you. So, masculine essence men at their core are already living in their masculine edge, and they don't even know it. They don't really need theories about polarity and how to step more into their masculine so they can play that protector and provider role. So, from the moment these people hit puberty, they're already trying to figure out what type of woman they want. So, masculine essence men don't really like to be told what to do. In fact, if you keep telling your masculine man that he needs to learn this whole feminine masculine dynamic, the chances are that you're going to get him further away from it. It's not going to make him come closer to you. Simply because that translates into, I want you to change for me and I don't trust you to lead our relationship to where it actually needs to go. And as a woman, when you want him to change and you're not trusting him to lead, what you're doing is that you're doubting his masculinity and his ability to protect and provide for you. So please do not sit down your man and telling him about all these feminine and masculine polarities and expect him to get this. They won't. And don't forget, most of the masculines out there are quite analytical in nature, and this will not make sense to them, right? You might try to drag him to all the seminars that you want, get him to read all the books that you might want him to read. You might even go get him that The Way of the Superior Man, by David Data, wherever it was. But whatever ideas you try to give him, that's not going to make him step into his masculine power. And you're not going to have him where you want him to go. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. You need to stop doing that, because it can only make things worse for you, right? So if you have a masculine man at his core by your side, it's not going to work for you. You know why? Because that person is going to resist. And that's a good thing, despite your disappointment, right? Because a masculine essence doesn't like to be told what to do so they can actually change, right? And they're not going to change unless it's driven by their own desires to do so. And this is what you need to understand, right? For a man to change, he's gonna want he should wanna change because he feels he will become a better person like that, not because you want it. You gotta let that man be. You've gotta let him be for who he is. You cannot change him. You've gotta love him and appreciate him for what he is, right? And if there's something else that you want, that's where you need to go after. Stop trying to change people. That never works. And you just end up hurting one another, right? Because they say a lot of women are always expecting men to change, and men are always expecting women to stay the same. So think about that. If only we wouldn't need our men to constantly be different. If only we ourselves will stay the same. Would live happily ever after. Basically. If only relationships were that simple, right? But do not give up your modern feminine essence, right? There is light at the end of the tunnel. So, the man is not a schoolboy who needs to be taught things about life or to be parented. He is past that stage, all right? So if he's willing to be with a woman who wants to be his mother, that's his own choice, right? You don't have to play that role for him. He doesn't need to be told how to live his life, what books to read and what seminars to attend, right? Because that behavior shows that you don't trust him to figure it out by himself, right? And what's going to happen in the end? That man is going to start resenting you for it, right? So just stop trying to give this guy ideas about what to do. Let him, right? And I understand, right? It's part of our feminine nature to actually want to nurture and to improve things, relationships and people. We've been doing this for 1,000 eons, but it doesn't work. That's one of the biggest challenges. That logic doesn't go for men. It doesn't. The biggest challenge is not to apply the same logic to our men, right? What you need to do is that you need to trust that he will find his own way. You need to trust that he knows best what he needs to do, what he needs to read, what he needs to watch, and what he needs to listen for. He is doing his own self-development if he wants to. And if I didn't trust him to find his way, what the hell will I be doing with this man? I am not his mother. I am not his therapist, and I am not his teacher. I need to set him free, right? Yeah. Women, you need to focus on exploring and nurturing your femininity. And what you can do today as a woman is to fully step into that energy. And please listen to me that you can't change anyone unless they want to change themselves. You cannot help them unless they want to be helped. If you're in a relationship with a man and are waiting for him to change one day, you are going to be living in a constant state of disappointment. He feels it and you feel it. And you can only take responsibility for your own mindset, for your own feelings, and your own actions. let him lean into his masculine. So you might be asking, how can you make sure that your man can step into their masculine role? And my answer to this will be, when you discover and learn how to lean into your own feminine, things actually start taking care of themselves. Because by default, you just stop doing what you're not supposed to be doing and start doing what makes your shelf full. So you automatically give him a chance to rise and lead, right? And you just need to trust the process and to trust your man. So even if he's showing resistance and not understanding what the hell is going on with you and why you suddenly started making an altar, and you're changing the way you behave, it's okay. You don't need to explain your feminine cravings to anyone. If that man is interested, he can go ahead and ask you, right? Another thing you need to know, you need to understand that expect that man to resist. Resistance. Yes, yes, yes. And if you're a woman who wants the shelf to be full in life and you're tired of wearing the pants all the time, or you don't want to go to work, how would you persuade a man to let you be you? And the first step is you need to prepare yourself for resistance, right? So you need to make sure you equip yourself really well when it comes to patience, tolerance, and time, because that man is not going to like that. He's going to be complaining. He's not going to get it. Well, at least he's not going to get it at first until he can actually see the results. And that's how the masculine beings operate. So 2 incomes are actually better than 1. And of course, it makes total sense. Why does he have to work harder to bring in all of the income if both of you can do it, right? I mean, getting like 15K is better than getting 5K, right? So, the only thing the masculine innocently forgets is that we, feminine beings, do not operate in masculine ways. For sure, 2 incomes are all well and good, but the dishes, the laundry, and the children won't take care of themselves in the same 50-50 manner, right? And our monthly cycles will not take care of themselves either. He doesn't bleed every month releasing unfertilized eggs. His body is made to fight in order to survive and to push. And when pregnancy and childbearing knock on our doorstep, right, the idea of 2 incomes will be thrown out of the window, right? Right? And we don't have to blame the masculine for not seeing what we're seeing, for not feeling what we're feeling, for not hearing what we're hearing. They simply do not know and do not understand because they're not us. So men have been figuring out what women want since the moment they hit puberty for thousands of years, and they still have no clue what drives us. Right? So it's up to us to be able to educate them about our ways, right? They have no idea how it feels to bleed every month, for example. They have no ideas how all candles and spas and slow sensual dancing makes us feel. They have no sort of idea what sort of emotional, physical, and psychological and soul transformation we go through when we get pregnant, and that's okay. You just need to let them know without blame, without guilt, or without an expectation that they actually do know, because they don't, right? You need to understand, as a feminine being, you are quite resourceful when it comes to getting your way, and especially with men, right? Your man can get on board with this dynamic when he actually gets to see and feel the results. So, masculine creatures are goal and results driven. you need to be able to show him how would his world and life look like and feel like if you're playing 100 out of 100, right? He's not going to understand theories or talks about it. He actually needs to feel it. He needs to see it, and he needs to taste it. And he needs to be shown a different world. He needs to experience that. But first, you need to decide, how does that look like for you, right? So if I was in a marriage, clearly I'm not, I would have divided responsibilities. I would maybe have said, okay, I'm going to take care of the house. I will take care of the meals. I will take care of the children. I take care of myself, and the energy in the relationship and our household, and I do know that if my energy tanks were about to be empty, everything else and everyone else is empty too. Okay, this is my priority. So he will be taking care of the finances and our basic needs as a family, right? So he will be taking care of the survival of our family so that I don't need to think about it, right? He will be able to take care of the mechanics, right? He will be doing the heavy lifting, okay? And he will be taking care of the pipes and make sure we have enough to live on, right? And this doesn't mean that he doesn't help around the house, doesn't cook, or doesn't take care of the children. In fact, he is very involved in all of these things, right? That's what I would make sure of, right? And this also doesn't mean, right, that I'm not working or I'm not thinking about bringing in income to the house. The difference is that we have divided and we can conquer our areas of responsibility based on what fulfills us and runs our engines, right? And you can naturally fall into these roles and work and what works great for you, right? Essentially, he will be the protector and the provider, and I will be the nurturer and the atmosphere maker, right? So generally, we're not going to be fighting about who does what, who did more or who did less, okay? There's not going to be any of that, right? And I will not be piling up on myself the responsibilities and will not feel like everything is on me. And that is not always easy, right? And it might not work 100% of the time, but it does work most of the time. And in fact, that can thrive. And how do I know? I know that because you will know that when you feel loved and supported by the other person, right? You will feel that. Definitely you're going to feel that. Because that man can be a happy man, right? He gets from me what he wants from me, right? And if, as a wife, I am a happy woman, he in fact will be a happy man. Because I will not be staying angry for long with that person, right? I will be having reservoirs of energy for him and my family because I am excited about life and I am playful and I have the time to take care of myself because I've done personal development and I know what I want out of life and I know what it means to be in a partnership, right? And sex is going to be great at the same time. Or at least for me, it's a very important role. Even when it comes, you can be doing scheduling sex, if you have children and all of that. But yeah, you need to find a way for that. Well, you don't need to, but, sex is good. So, for your man to be able to be on board with all of this, right? They need to be able to see and to feel the results. And it's going to take time, but it can actually happen. And he will start to see the difference when how he's feeling inside, right, as a person ever since the changes happened, right? Take, for example, this guy decides to go out for drinks with some other dudes, and the other dudes, right, are complaining about their wives, right? They're saying, oh, my wife, she's such an angry person. She lashes at me. She blah, 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 blah. Trust me, when they have a healthy person next to them, they know and they understand. Your job is just to gently remind them from time to time so they don't forget. So if you set him free and you stay on course with polarity and divide and conquer in this way, the inevitable results will come through your own energy and how you feel. So now let's talk about the pregnancy. You need to understand that when children come, the game of 50-50 can actually be over. But it's quite difficult. When you're a woman, you're the one who has the womb and you're the one who's going to be carrying the baby. So you are the one who has to deal with the first trimester of all that vomiting and all of the disgusting feelings that you're feeling. You're going to be one that has all those hormones, those cravings, and all those crazy decisions that pregnancy might make you do, because that's the way we were designed to be. It's part of our nature, right? So a lot of women may work like a powerhouse, right? All of the weeks of their pregnancies, and they can go to hospital straight from the office. But you need to understand that pregnancy is quite a serious thing that's happening. And I'm not going to get into it a lot because there's so many things to say about pregnancies. But what I am to tell you is that when a woman is pregnant, a lot of things happen energetically with the baby that she's carrying. So if a woman is out there in the workforce and she's working and she's doing a lot of things, you need to understand that there's going to be a lot of things that she's going to be neglecting on that child. A lot of things. And it's a complete different story. But anyway, having a baby, it's not about convenience, right? A lot of these hotshot CEOs and boss ladies, I am one of myself, but I'm balanced in both aspects, right? But I know because I've been there. I know both scales. So these CEO types of women, they're the ones that are actually having the most trouble with managing a family after they have children, right? And they usually employ their husbands to stay at home and stay with the kids. But sorry, that is not for me, okay? And that's not the life that I would want to live as a woman. Anyway, back to the pregnancy thing. So, perhaps, he might tell you that you need to go to work. He might tell you, think about the things that we can accomplish, the money that we're going to save, the adventure and travels we could have. And you might, you might ask him, how many children would you like to have? So considering on the average, say he says that he wants like 3 children, right? So considering that on average, it will take both of you about 3 years per child to carry and take care of, it means that for about 10 years, you're going to be tied into motherhood duties. And that means for 10 years, you can't really rely on her income as one of the main sources to support the family. Interesting, yeah? And then we have a lot of corrupted kids, right? So there's no argument he can use against your biology and your body, right? He cannot carry the child, he cannot give birth to it, he can't breastfeed, and there are always so many unknowns in this journey, right? So your aim is to be the primary care provider for your baby, because your world is going to shift. Because it's almost like a switch inside your body that for 9 months carefully, it's going to prepare you to switch into your motherland right after you give birth, or maybe a little later. Yeah? So you need to be able to have these conversations before getting pregnant. Simply because it's so much easier. And you have to see the type of partner that you have, right? Because you need to understand pregnancy and when children come to play, that is like thunderstruck for the couple. It's too much to bear at times, whether that be emotionally, physically, and financially, right? Because both parents they're gonna be sleep deprived, the sex and intimacy is gonna be deprived, and frankly, they both can be like zombies. And to that, the financial burden that is now placed on the man, and even worse, the financial burden and the responsibility that can be placed on the woman who just gave birth to a tiny human being who needs her love and cuddles and her milk, but she needs to go to work, okay? And perhaps that is why most couples divorce within the first year after a child is born, because it's a complete motherfucking mind fuck.